Hello, and thank you for joining me, Hilary Rose, on the Live Wild podcast. In this episode, I chat to Anne-Marie Boyhan, otherwise known as the Sleep and Insomnia Queen, and we chat, you guessed it, all about sleep. We talk through tips and tricks to optimize your sleep, sleep routines, and being the CEO of your own health.
Speaking to someone recently who was at a hen party away for the weekend, and she couldn't sleep because the other girl that was sharing the room with her had her white noise machine on.
Oh, yeah.
So, it is really popular to do that. Some people, have their things that they do to help them sleep, whether that's the white noise machine or the reading a book, or there's certain ritual that they have. And, if it works for you, that's fine. It really is. It won't work for an insomniac, but people do, find a ritual or a little routine that you do before bed. I talked about that winding down, what works for you. Like, so I can't have a bath, but for some people a bath is really good, or, even taking off your makeup, listening to something.
So, if you have issues with sleep and you want to make a change, then this episode is for you. I'm here with Anne-Marie Boyhan from the Sleep Care Company. Hello, you're welcome on the Live Well podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me, Hilary.
I'm so pleased to have you on the podcast. I think the listeners are really, really going to love this episode. I heard you speak at a festival, a wellness festival, and I thought it was amazing, the information that you were bringing, and I loved your approach to sleep care. What inspired you to start your journey into sleep care? Was it a particular area that you needed to focus on yourself?
Yes, it certainly was an area I needed to focus on because I wasn't getting any sleep. So I guess my purpose now has come from my previous pain, and that was working a lot, not knowing how to de-stress, not knowing how to wind down, and being always on. And I was working in the corporate world, and one thinks one can do it all. I had two little ones at home, busy family life, busy work life, managing a big team, and I wasn't getting any sleep. And little did I know that it was stress that was driving this. So I ended up finding the Sleep Care Company basically through trying to get myself better and not being able to find a solution out there. So I ended up writing the Sleep Journal, which is a wellness journal that I have as part of my program and as part of my company. Through not being able to find a solution, not been able to find everything sleep related in one place. And then I actually totally changed career. I went back to study functional diagnostic nutrition in the States, sleep science. And then that brings me here, and I now work with people to help them sleep.
Wow. And where did you start for yourself? When you couldn't find the answers for your own sleep care problems, where did you start?
I guess when you say you've had a terrible night's sleep or you can't sleep, you do get advice from everyone. And, Mary's brother down the road has tried this, and have you tried this? And, this has worked for Jimmy. And you do take on board those things and you try them. So you do end up trying everything under the sun. A big thing for me was my phone. So actually just have it here, but being always on, but always available. So having no boundaries. And it was a time before COVID when there wasn't much work from home, when people did contact you all the time in regards to work. And I had that type of job where it was involving social and digital. So people did need me all the time, and they were always on, but also emails. And so I didn't know how, and that wasn't able to stop. So it wasn't until I left that environment that I stopped that. But actually just been glued to my phone, in my case for the purposes of work. But I did find out later through my research that the blue light from phones interrupts your melatonin hormone, but it's also not only does it disrupt your sleep, but it also gives you that dopamine hit, when you are getting responses from people or on social media, or so it is quite addictive. So that was the first thing, was the phone, and then trying other things. So I literally had to train myself into a sleep routine. So I'd write a post-it and put it on my fridge with things that I ought to do in the evening. So it was, 9:30, turn off your phone. 9:45, have a chamomile tea. I did try a lot of teas.
So you can't even set reminders on your phone. They have to be written somewhere else.
Exactly. And I tried magnesium. Chamomile tea was probably the nicer tea that did calm me. It does have calming properties. Magnesium as well, worked quite well for me. So those little things, bringing them into my evening, and going back to reading books, as simple as it sounds, picking up a book like a hardback or softback and just reading, and I hadn't done that in years. So just going back to all those analog, things that we used to do. I do it for my kids. It's funny, they have a really good bedtime routine. They brush their teeth, they get into their PJs, they read a story or a song, and then they know that routine, and then they go to sleep. Whereas I wasn't doing that for myself.
Yeah, we'd insist on it for our kids, but not for ourselves. I did the same recently, actually. I think it was probably in the last 9 months. I came off social media because I found myself scrolling at night, and it was I had it on the bracket for, work purposes, but I shut that down. I have to be on it every now and then, but I shut it down. And I also, I place my phone out of the bedroom at night. So I charge it in a different room, and that's it. There's, back to an analog alarm clock, and there's no phones in the room at night. It's just, and it's been such a game changer to even take that simple step. Really, really, really has improved things. When people come to you, what is the most common sleep issue that they have? I mean, obviously there's a whole range of I can't sleep, or I don't get a good night's sleep. But I mean, they are broken down into different segments, because some people can get to sleep, but then wake up. Some people can't get to sleep. What's the most common form of issue when people come to you?
How long do you have? Yeah, they are many, but the three categories that would be the most popular is they can't get to sleep, so difficulty winding down or difficulty falling asleep, difficulty maintaining their sleep, so they get to sleep but they wake up and they can't get back to sleep, or they get up in the night for something and they can't get back to sleep. And then the third one is waking up feeling totally wrecked, feeling not having slept at all. So they're the three buckets, and they're all caused by different things, but it is definitely a sleep pandemic. Since COVID, and I'm sure even before COVID, people are just not sleeping. I mean, there was a recent survey to say that the Irish people are only sleeping 6 hours a night. We really should be getting a lot more than that. We should be getting 8 at least.
So when they come to you, where do you start with your advice? What do you, I mean, obviously you have to look at different aspects. So say now they come to you and they say, I can't get to sleep. Where do you start with that? We'll look at the others a little bit later. But if they just can't get to sleep straight off the bat, where do you start there?
Yeah, firstly, I look at their whole body, but their whole lifestyle, their whole health history. So lifestyle has a big impact. So what are they doing during the day? What kind of job are they working in? What kind of stress are they under? So for example, someone could be working shift work in, let's say, in a healthcare setting, but not night shift work. It could be day shifts. So they are working 12-hour shifts and coming home and going to bed at the right time, but just they cannot wind down, so they can't fall asleep no matter what they try. So people that come to me have usually tried everything under the sun before they come to me. So in that case, I'd also look at their diet. So what are they eating during the day? But what also are they eating enough? What are they eating in the evening? So a lot of the times with the can't get to sleep, it can be diet, it can be lifestyle, it can be stress, it can be genetics. So there is with everyone, I run a series of functional lab tests on them to find out what's going on in their bodies. And the not being able to fall asleep is basically, it's either genetics or it's having high cortisol before you go to bed. So basically our cortisol is our stress hormone, but it's really good to get us up in the morning. And we get a high in the morning to get us up and out. And then it dips after about an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning. And then it drops gradually during the day. And it's supposed to be low at night. So the testing would show that this person, their cortisol is high at night. So why is it high? So it could be something that they're eating, a food sensitivity. It could be stress that they're under. It could be, as I mentioned earlier, genetic. So there is a gene that some people have, and I would figure out if they have this gene or not. And it's called the COMT gene, the COMT. And it's basically, we all have genes, but it's whether your genes are dirty and acting out. So basically, we're born with the genes, but it's our lifestyle and our diet that makes sure that they are dirty or that they happen.
They're triggered,
Yeah, exactly, that they're triggered. So in the case of the COMT gene, it's basically the person is not able to wind down at all. They're not able to handle stress. They would be quite bad at winding down or getting rid of stress. So whereas you or I might be in the same situation and we're fine after half an hour, this person might take them 2-3 hours to handle that situation and to actually come down from that stress. So there's a number of if you find out that you have that gene, and actually I do see it a lot with people in the healthcare industry that are like that, medics or nurses or carers, and they are in extremely stressful jobs, and they are unable to wind down. And a lot of them do have this COMT gene. So then
that's interesting that it would be specific to healthcare, isn't it?
Yeah, I have found maybe it's only the last few people that have come to me, but so you would support that then with lifestyle, diet. There's certain things that work for them. There's certain vitamins and minerals that work for them that you would get them to take then to support that gene.
How would is it blood testing is how you decipher between if they have the gene or not, or what kind of diagnostics do you run them through?
So in that particular case, you can run genetic testing, but I have an assessment, which is it basically you can answer it and you find out which of the genes. There's about 7 genes that I look at. There's another one, the MTHFR gene, which is expressed in a lot of people who have anxiety or depression. So they also would have trouble sleeping, but in different ways. The insomnia before sleep is more the COMT gene, and then there's other genes for detoxification. So that in that particular one, you find out via an assessment. But there is a really good book by Dr. Ben Smith called Dirty Genes.
Oh, okay.
And it explains it all, basically how our genes affect our lifestyle. I got it the other day in Eason's, but it is one of those really good, easy to understand that explains it all in that particular instance.
And then moving forward, what's the next step for people? So you've determined maybe with the factors that are keeping them awake, we'll say. what's the next step? Do you have to implement a program for them of diet and lifestyle? Because a lot of people don't realize how stressed they are as well. That's another factor. So you could say, well, it's probably stress, but they might not ever realize it's stress, or they might not change their lifestyle because they don't believe that it's stress. How do you tackle someone like that? Do you have a program? Not tackle them physically, like, but
Yeah.
how do you tackle someone who's kind of pushing back on that? Is it a program that you ask them to adhere to, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I do get a lot of type A personalities who are, successful in so many parts of their lives, that not that they doubt it, but they would question it. So the good thing about my approach and the Easy Sleep method is it's all based on data. So having run the tests, be it the genetic test, but there's also a number of other tests on your gut and your hormones and your liver, etc. It's when they actually see it on paper, they see the data and they see, okay, my cortisol levels are all over the shop. And I explain, this means that you have been in a stressful situation for years. You're possibly not been able to produce enough cortisol and you're now producing adrenaline. So when they see it on paper is when people go, okay, I need to take action here. And I find it, and they find it quite revelationary. And then they're motivated to do something about it. So,
particularly if they're type A's as well, they were like, okay, I have the facts, now I can move forward.
Yeah. And oftentimes it's not only having the facts, but it's a relief because they might have been gaslit by doctors for years, like going to them with these symptoms, not necessarily doctors, but practitioners or anyone that they've gone to for their sleep and not listened to. And they know that they have an issue, that there's something happening. They know they can't sleep and no one can help them. So actually seeing this data helps in that way as well. It's like, okay, this is, oh, wow, now I have a plan and there is a solution and I'm on my way to fix it.
What would you consider myths that pop up about sleep that you would love to dispel? Like if there's, stuff online about how to sleep better, are there any particular myths that would pop out to you that go, oh, I wish people wouldn't say that because it's not the truth?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots, TikTok is notorious for crazy sleep trends that someone has tried that has lots of followers. There was a lettuce water one last year, huge on TikTok, and it's, you put lettuce in your water and then you drink it.
That's right, because I remember, if this is funny, actually, I remember reading Peter Rabbit, and Peter Rabbit, they talk about lettuce being, what's the term? Saphoric or something, is it, where it can induce sleep? That's so funny. Okay, yeah. Right, well,
and there is a tiny element in lettuce that does help sleep, but you would want to be drinking gallons of it to get enough.
Yeah.
So that's one, and some of them, I would take with a pinch of salt, unless they're science backed and they have, some kind of sleep study behind them, or that they're the other one that I find is kind of, especially in Ireland, is, you can't sleep when you get older. And, or like that, oh, my mom is a really bad sleeper, my dad is a really bad sleeper, so you are automatically a really bad sleeper. But the one about people getting older is definitely, not true. I mean, people, adults, let's say, should be getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep, and that is still applicable as we get older. It's just something in your body that's preventing you from sleep. And I have had clients, in their 70s who went from 4 hours a night to thinking, this is it for me, as in I'm never going to get more sleep, to 7 hours a night, once they figure out what's their sleep issue and working on it. So that's a big one, is the, once you're over 65, that you're not going to sleep much.
No, because that just sounds like a nightmare. I love my sleep so much. And if I don't get a really decent night's sleep, it really, really affects me. I'll never forget, having small kids when they were still, one of them still doesn't sleep really properly and she's just turning 6. But having small kids and actually feeling like I was going to die from having no sleep, it was so debilitating. So, any parent out there will understand that. So for somebody then who can get to sleep, but then perhaps wakes at a particular hour every night, what would you look at for those people?
So again, all the same things. So looking at their health history since year dot, have they had any, are they on any medication? Have they had any disease or illness or operations? Looking at their lifestyle, and then looking at what is causing that cortisol to go off at night. So if it's going off at the same time at night, it's usually a key as well. So between 1 and 3 a.m., our liver detoxifies. So it could be a liver thing. But I usually find that cortisol going off at night can be blood sugar imbalance, huge amongst people. And it's not something that we know or can tell really about. The other thing is things that cause cortisol to go off in the night: blood sugar, parasites, or candida, or some kind of pathogen that's in your gut that we would find out through gut testing. And they are, they're having a party at night, basically, when, especially during the full moon. And, it's not anything woo at all. It's actually real.
No, I agree, because if you look at sorry to interrupt you, Marie, but if you look at any vets or farmers or people who work with animals, they will always worm their animals on just before a full moon and just before a new moon. So it's like, they're replicating just around those times. So to say, just to back you up in that it's not woo-woo, it really isn't. But there doesn't seem to be a culture of, I remember in the 80s, there was a culture of worming in Ireland, but there doesn't seem to be that culture anymore. And I wonder, is that part of the issue as well? Nobody seems to worm their kids anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's so, and you can get them from having animals. I grew up on a farm. I witnessed it all, but I also see with my own kids, times after high sugar. So let's say Halloween, or after the summer holidays, or after Christmas, where they're after getting lots of sugar. You can see it in kids, and like other people do deworm them. And like I do talk to schools, and that is one of the subjects I talk about good. Is, if your child is doing things like, so a couple of symptoms around that are grinding your teeth, anal itching, so if you're scratching your bum, so it's all the sugar. They come out to feed on the sugar. But in our adult cases, it might be sugar, but during a full moon, they come out to feed on serotonin, which is our happy hormone, which is bigger during the full moon. So they come out to feed on that. And one way to draw them out is by actually eating sugar. So you're having a dessert or a bar of chocolate or something, you're going to bring them out. And that's when you zap them.
Hit them.
Yeah.
What would you recommend hitting them with?
They're basically, I wouldn't recommend anyone listens to this and just goes off and does a parasite cleanse. Definitely figure out if you have them or not, if you have the symptoms for them. But if you are experiencing insomnia around the full moon, so look up the dates for the full moon. So there's full moon every month. You can look it up on Google, and the next one is, I won't mention when the next one is because we could be listening to this anytime. But basically, they happen every month. So it's the day of the full moon and the 2 days either side. And that's when I usually would zap them with a herbal supplement. That's good for parasites. And then there is one for kids in the pharmacy. You can ask your pharmacist for it, and it's common for some people. The pharmacist will know what it is, but it's basically you give it to them. Basically, it's some drops, and you give it to them now. Let's say tonight, and then you get them to take it in 2 weeks as well. So when they take it tonight, if they're kids,
the next day you go and you strip their beds and wash their sheets. So that's in case any of them come out. And then the reason you hit them again in 2 weeks is, it sounds gross, but they lay eggs. So you want to get those ones. Yeah. But yeah, if you have dogs or you're seeing any of those things, we do them with our dogs. We deworm our dogs. We deworm our cats.
Yeah. The whole house should be done in one fell swoop.
Yeah. But well, they are one of the things I see in the night is the parasites, but not just parasites. So it could be candida. So that's another pathogen. And again, that's very active at night. H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori is comes out as well. That I see that in about 90% of people. Huge cause for insomnia. And it's sometimes asymptomatic, so you don't know you have it, but then there are people who are symptomatic. So the signs of it are reflux, really bad acid reflux, and they're always taking Rennie or reaching for something, finding it hard to digest their food. So a number of things with the 3 a.m. or the 1 a.m. or the 4 a.m. awakenings. And then the other thing is I see a lot in men is frequent urination at night. They get up to pee and they can't get back to sleep.
So we've established, Anne-Marie, that could be any number of things that can wake you at 3 a.m., parasites being one amongst them, but also the peeing, this pesky peeing in the middle of the night for men and women.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? Please give us words of wisdom.
And I guess it happens to a lot of people, but it happens to men and women, as you said. First thing for men, I would say get your prostate checked out. If you're over 40, go for regular checks. But it usually has nothing to do with how much water you drink during the day or anything like that. So again, the cortisol is going off in the night due to something happening in your body. And when cortisol goes off in the night, it basically says, I'm the most important, I'm the VIP person here. And it shuts down everything else in your body, including your urinary system. So it shuts that down and basically you can't control. So you'll have to get up and go to sleep. So that's one of the things that causes it. Another thing I see in about a third of people is an environmental toxin called mold illness. So that causes people, one of the big symptoms is insomnia, and the other one is peeing in the night. And that is basically,
How would you, so mold illness, how would one know if is the mold... So you're saying it's an environmental toxin. So would it be in a mattress? Would it be in the walls? Would it be, where would you have this environmental toxin? Would it be in there where they're sleeping, or is it to do with their daily environment? Hey, if you're enjoying this podcast and you'd like to show us your support, if you like, you could buy us a coffee using the Buy Me a Coffee app or online at buymeacoffee.com/livewildpodcast. Or just click the link in our show notes, it will take you there. Alternatively, you could like, subscribe, or share the show with your mates or on social media. It really helps us bring you the very best show. Thank you so much for your help.
So it's to do with whether they have been exposed to a mycotoxin from mold. So molds emit mycotoxins, and basically a third of the population cannot detoxify from them. So you and I might be in the same bathroom, let's say, that's had water damage. So basically mycotoxins and mold come primarily from water damage. And if you've had a leak in your bathroom or a flood or something like that, and it's caused water damage, sometimes you see it in attics on insulation, sometimes you see it behind wallpaper. It can be in your window crevices. You can see black mold. It can be on your shower. It can be in the rim of your washing machine.
Yes, so that's black mold. That's the black mold that we see.
Black mold, yeah. And then, I know, gross. But so you're inhaling it, but it mightn't be in this house. So it could be in a past exposure. So it could be in your parents' house. You've gone up to the attic. you can get it on things like, have you ever seen, like, in my particular case, going up to my mum's attic and getting down books or things that I've stored there for years and they're all moldy, or so that can contribute as well. So it's when you inhale it, then that's how you're exposed to it. And as I said, 1 in 3 people can't handle it, and it's in them, and then it causes different symptoms. So for one person, it's insomnia. For someone else, it might be sinus issues. So really affecting you. Here, you're like really the sinus, the urination in the night. For other people, it's weight gain and weight loss resistance. It's a huge one. It causes a thing called SIRS, which is sounds very depressing. All these things you can get. I'm sorry, Hilary.
No, it's great though, because I've no doubt there's people listening going, "Oh my God, that's me, that's me." Like, you just ticked all those boxes for me, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to get this test. Sorry, so, continue. Yeah, it causes SIRS.
SIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome, which is basically mold illness. It causes an immune response in people. And it basically, your immune system is going off, and it can't stop, and it's setting off everything in your body.
So presumably it would set off things like, we'll say, rheumatoid arthritis, or, if it's chronic inflammation, so probably lots of mucus, things like that. Would they be red flags for something like that?
Yeah, but the ones are if you are like the ones I just mentioned. So the big ones for SIRS are insomnia, urination in the night, sinuses, really bad sinuses, the weight gain or inability to lose, like weight gain quite fast. So an inability to lose weight. They're the big ones associated with SIRS. But yeah, it's a cytokine storm happening in your body, and it's really interesting one, but a kind of a bit of a beast as well to address, because it's really hard. People don't know they have it, and then to get rid of it.
And exactly, that's the question. How do you get rid of something like that? I want to talk about, we'll say, traditional medicine and functional medicine in a minute, but I suppose I want to just continue with the sleep things. I know people are really, we haven't touched on a lot of the sleep stuff as well. Do you see that there's a connection between sleep and mental health? Like, how does it? I mean, obviously, if you don't get a good night's sleep, you're like a bag of cats. But in the long term, how can it affect things like anxiety, depression, or burnout?
Yeah, it's all interlinked, really. But there is a huge link between people with depression and insomnia as well. And as you've rightly mentioned, if you don't sleep, it can cause, for some people, huge anxiety. Well, we're not able to function at the best of times, but then for some people, it shows up as anxiety. A big one in mental health is the gut. So going back to, I mean, traditionally, mental health is addressed with, medication, and that is necessary for some people, but it can also be addressed by natural means, looking at the gut, because if you look at the gut talks to the brain. The gut-brain axis is 90% of the time. So, if you're having that gut feeling, or it really is real. So our serotonin, all our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. So your serotonin is like your happy hormone, your dopamine, your GABA is like your chill hormone. We need other hormones for like our get up and go. They're all produced in the gut. So if your gut is a mess, it's going to talk to your brain and say, I'm a mess. And it results in anxiety and depression. And I've seen it result in schizophrenia and bipolar. So I'd start with the gut. It is a big, it's the second largest immune system. So, and was it Hippocrates said that All disease begins in the gut. So it is a big one, and can tell us a lot of clues about our health.
Absolutely. I get the feeling I know what the answer to this is going to be, but do you have any particular, I suppose, sleep aids that you would encourage, or do you just encourage completely natural forms of sleep? Because I know there's a family member of mine who has to be plugged in. Everything has to be a certain way, plugged into audiobooks or whatever they're plugged into to be able to sleep. I personally don't think that's a very healthy sleep habit, but it seems to work for them. What are your thoughts on something like that? Sleep aids like that?
Yeah, they're huge, and for certain generations as well. White noise is really big, and a lot of people love white noise or pink noise, and they have their white noise machine or they have their app. I was speaking to someone recently who was at a hen party away for the weekend, and she couldn't sleep because the other girl that was sharing the room with her had her white noise machine on.
Oh, yeah.
So, it is really popular to do that. It's some people, have their things that they do to help them sleep, whether that's the white noise machine or the reading a book, or there's certain ritual that they have. And, if it works for you, that's fine. It really is. It won't work for an insomniac, but people do, find a ritual or a little routine that you do before bed. I talked about that winding down, what works for you. Like, so I can't have a bath, but for some people a bath is really good, or, even taking off your makeup, listening to something. So there are certain gadgets that work for some people and they love them, and they're not going to part with them. Yeah. And then others, I would say natural remedies that I find work really well are L-theanine, really good, herb, chamomile is really good, valerian, another one, and magnesium for a lot of people, but again, it won't work on everyone. The magnesium bisglycinate is the one for sleep. There's so many magnesiums out there, but it's the bisglycinate one is good for sleep. So, herbs can be good for some people.
And I suppose for people who don't have major sleep issues, but maybe just want to optimize their sleep. I'm always about optimizing my sleep. And I have my routine for optimizing my sleep is, okay, phone leaves the room.
Brilliant.
There's a nice serene setting. There's a little bit of, I don't know, whatever it might be, prayer, meditation. Reading, like you said at the start, reading is a big one as well. I got back into that, and it just feels like it's so relaxing. It's so nice to be able to not turn the page. You're just like, oh, I'm so exhausted, I'm going to turn the page. What are your thoughts? Actually, it's funny. I went on a big deep dive about sleep about 2 or 3 years ago when I was struggling, and I switched all my bed linen to natural fibers. So I got rid of all the synthetic fibers. I actually got myself a wool pillow recently, which is one of the best purchases I've ever made. It was amazing.
Is it by Woollow?
Can't remember. I think they're
there's
an
a
Irish
company in Galway, that make them. They're brilliant. Wool is really good. It's
so
natural.
what are your thoughts on bedclothes or bed linen that is natural versus synthetic, and as well, something I read recently, like your mattresses are full of microfibers, your pillows are full of microfibers. We don't have a hope, do we?
I know, everything's coming at us from all angles. But natural fibers are great for your bed linen and, toxins from mattresses and things like that. So bed linen, bamboo, or cotton is really good.
If you're very bougie, silk.
Yes, absolutely. And silk pillowcase is the ultimate treat. I love them.
So do I. My
great
wool
for your
pillow.
hair.
For your skin. A wool pillow with a silk pillowcase. I mean, that's heaven.
And there's a gorgeous Irish company called the Silk Pillowcase. A lady who invented silk pillowcase in menopause because she was struggling with sleep. And it's an Irish company. And so silk pillowcase, I know people that bring their silk pillowcase with them to a hotel, so it's really good. You look, if you Google it, all your top hairstylists and skin people recommend them both for your hair and your skin. Because if you think about it, synthetic, I don't know if was it in the 80s, or you look at the black sheets, or the crazy like satin stuff, and that's polyester. It's just going to make you sweat, and
and the static that comes off it, that's electricity, it's energy, it's not a grounding way to sleep.
So go back to your natural fibers, and the same with what you wear to bed, something that's not going to make you sweat and itch. And so ditch your cheapo polyesters and go for a really nice pair of PJs, or whatever you wear to bed, but that it's natural fibers. There's some fabulous PJ brands out there,
Also, actually, what are your thoughts on grounding sheets? Worth it or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're good. We've so much EMFs going off in our bedroom that it's good for grounding sheets. And even I get people to turn off their Wi-Fi at night, because it's
a great idea. Yeah,
it's just so influential for sleep. Your bedroom really needs to be like a cave. You shouldn't be able to see your hand in front of your face. Dark as, whether that's blinds or blackout blinds or curtains, whatever works. But really simple as possible. It's for snuggles and for sleep, and that's it. No TVs.
Yeah.
No phones. So go back to how our cavemen were, and they, and perhaps, if you're talking about interiors, they won't want me to say this, but caves, because they're not very exciting. They're cold and they're dark, but that's the way our bedrooms should be.
Cooler.
And then if you think back to our caveman self as well, or cavewoman self, with going around with our clubs, they got up with the sunlight and went to bed with the sunlight. So our circadian rhythms follow the same. We're still built the same as we were when we lived in the cave. So, get up with the sunlight. And there's lots of scientific studies on sleep done around getting sunlight in the morning, first thing in the morning, especially within 1 hour of waking. And it sets your circadian rhythm right for the day. Again, around looking at a sunrise. So when you see the sun come up above the horizon, it again signals to your brain that everything is working okay, and it sets off the hormones okay. And that's why, you see all these sunrise hikes, and you don't have to go on a sunrise hike. You can just look at it from where you are. Just, find out on your phone. You can look at when the sun rises. And you can watch that. But if you miss the sunrise, you can just try and get sun first thing in the morning, because there's more studies done to say that your morning routine is more powerful than your evening routine. So get that sunlight in the morning. And then the other thing is, we don't get a lot of sunlight in Ireland in the winter. So if you can't get it naturally, then invest in like a sad lamp and get it that way. Like literally just look at a sad lamp or a light energy lamp for 20 minutes in the morning as you're doing your makeup, as you're getting ready. And it's amazing for people who suffer from seasonal affective disorder, but also for your sleep.
Wow. Okay. I'm making notes as I go here. So back to the darkness in the room. I have a question about this. So obviously, like, I would like lights out and everything else, but I went through a phase, I'm kind of still in the phase really, of like you said, sleeping in the dark and then waking to the natural rhythm, using circadian rhythms and waking to natural light. So I don't have a curtain in my room. Is that a pro or a con for you?
Yeah, I guess the reason I would have a curtain is to block out the sunlight. But if you're waking with the sunlight, it's okay. I mean, it wouldn't work for example, a baby.
No.
That you're trying to get into a certain routine, or so yeah, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, if it works for you and you're doing that, I mean, so if someone didn't have that, so that in their room, you could get a sunrise alarm clock, so that will go off in at the right time that you want it to, but it'll also give you that light at the right time.
Interesting. I'll have to investigate that further. We talked a little bit about functional medicine. So I'm interested in your thoughts about the current medical system that we find ourselves in, as opposed to functional medicine.
Open question.
I know there's silence on the end of it. I suppose really, I find that when people start to take their own health and well-being into their own hands, the path they usually end up going down is one of functional medicine and more of a holistic approach and a holistic approach, looking at every aspect of their life, whether it be diet, exercise, lifestyle, all the things that you've touched on. I suppose it's a question that's kind of dear to my heart. How do we amalgamate the two? I mean, I think, the allopathic medicine is wonderful for many reasons. Pain care or rather pain relief. Antibiotics, arguably brilliant, as long as they're not overdone. How do we integrate allopathic care with functional medicine?
Yeah, it's a great question. And firstly, I think we're very fortunate that we have the options of both. So, that it has kind of opened up that people have options. And the second thing I would say is that, be the CEO of your own health.
Yeah.
So, and that is, whatever it takes to make you feel healthy and right. So when you go to your doctor, are you getting answers if you're feeling ill or if you have symptoms for something and you're not getting the answers, be it if you're in perimenopause, menopause, whatever, if you're not menopausal at all, if you're a male, if you are not getting the answers, you have to seek that guidance somewhere else. And that could be from another doctor or a different type of practitioner. So a functional medicine practitioner or a nutritionist, a dietitian. There's so many energy healers. There's so many different modalities out there. So it's really about advocating for yourself. So if you are have been recommended something, so let's say it's thyroid, for example, and you don't know it's your thyroid, but you're told you do blood tests with your doctor and you're told that everything is normal, but you don't feel normal. So you're given perhaps, so it's either normal or maybe it's a bit out of balance. So you're given a medication for it and you take it and it does nothing for you. Your symptoms don't go away. So for thyroid, it could be your hair is falling out. It could be you've dandruff. You're feeling really floored, really fatigued. It could be weight gain. The fatigue is a big one for thyroid, for hypothyroid. So when your thyroid is sluggish, and you've been given a medication and it's just your symptoms haven't gone away. So, what do you do then? So, in that case, it is looking at, well, what are the lifestyle, the diet, the different things that I need to adopt to get my thyroid right. Maybe it isn't this medication. Maybe it's actually a combination of thyroid medications that I need, along with the lifestyle and diet changes I need for someone with hypothyroid or Hashimoto's, which is where it's gone into the autoimmune of thyroid. And it's finding someone that knows about that and that isn't going to not test you for certain things because, you're not in a disease state. So, and it is possible to see a number I don't believe in Dr. Google, but it is a matter of finding a practitioner or someone that is knowledgeable in that particular specialism and you can find out more through them.
Well, I hope that the rise of functional medicine continues, because it's I think we need it. I think the days of taking the pill and hoping for the best feel like they're nearly gone, you know?
Yeah. And it is there's a meme out there of, two queues, and the queue for the allopathic normal medicine is really long. And the other queue, there's one person at it, and the other queue, the headline says lifestyle change, and there's no one at it. So,
nobody wants to look at all those things.
Yeah. But, when you hit the nail on the head, the normal medicine is great for certain things and for, emergency care. And I had, both my beautiful daughters in hospital, and their wonderful care, pregnancy care and all of that, it has a place.
Absolutely.
But certainly we need to look beyond the kind of disease model and look for the let's actually get better model. How do we help our health?
Exactly. The pre-disease model really is what we need. Okay, we're going to finish up. What are your top 3 pieces of advice for people struggling with sleep?
Top 3 pieces of advice would be get yourself a sleep routine. So, if you want to prioritize your sleep, you do have to do things like go to bed get up at the same time every day, and have some kind of routine to wind down. So take that time, whether that is shutting off your phone, having a tea, listening to a podcast, reading a book. Find something for you that's your wind down routine. The second thing is would be to, if you have that, as you say, that sleep hack or something, you could find one that really works for you. And the third one would be to, if you feel that something's not right, so you're in that bucket of can't sleep, not waking up rested, waking up in the night, or you are a woman, let's say in perimenopause or menopause, or a male in any of those, and it still affects you, then I would get tested, whether that is going to your GP or a specialist in menopause, but definitely looking at your hormones is a big one, and finding out what's going on there, and then balancing those. So those would be my top 3 tips.
Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us today. So it is the Live Wild podcast. So there's a quick fire round at the end. Are you ready for this, Anne-Marie from the Sleep Care
I'm not
Company?
sure if I'm ready. But hit me.
Okay, I'll hit you with the Live Wild quick fire round. What do you stand for?
I stand for integrity with my clients, with everyone.
Lovely. If you were to distill yourself down to an essence, what would it be?
An essence. Calm.
What's the wildest thing you've ever done?
Oh my God. Probably not wild in many people's case. I worked on a beach in Valencia at age 19, and I didn't have a word of Spanish. Worked all day and partied all night, probably didn't sleep. It was a wild summer.
Love it. What's the one thing you do every day to help you live wild and free?
Sleep. Prioritize my sleep. I'm a new woman.
Thank you so much for talking to us today on the Live Wild podcast.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed making these episodes. Thank you, as always, to our amazing guests. A special thank you to Aoife McNamara, my co-producer extraordinaire from Imagine Media. Please like, share, subscribe, and rate us. It all really helps. And remember, this content is for education and entertainment purposes. In short, it's not gospel. I always say, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Always question everything and do your own research.